Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Faith and this is Faith's Pulse. I'm a Nigerian living in Brisbane, Australia, and on this channel I talk about meaningful living, travel, and of course general living tips here in Australia. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by, and to the returning subscribers, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. That's how you get notified when there's a new video. Guys, today on the channel I want to talk about something very interesting. So I haven't really done an Australia, like living in Australia video. I've put up a couple of videos about places you can visit, and that's just because that's what I've been had the opportunity to do. I've not had time to do sit down videos. I'm always on the go, and I'm vlogging on the go, so I've had a bit of time to sit down this period. And so because of that, today I'll be sharing my culture shocks while living in Australia, or as soon as I go to Australia, because trust me, it started right from the airport. So if you want to know all the things I had to experience and things I had to adapt to, definitely keep on watching. So the very first culture shock I had was at the airport, at the arrival. So after all the clearings and the check-in and everything, and then we got to the pickup park and there was nobody to pick us up. So back home in Nigeria, when you're returning from a trip, or you're going to, or someone coming back home from an international trip, how you get ready, you go pick the person up, there's a lot of ceremony and excitement. So here we were, my husband and I, just at the airport, nobody to pick us up, and it was oh, this is a bit different from what I'm used to. But anyways, we made the request on the app, and then the vehicle came, and it was a bus, and I'm like, why is the bus coming to pick us up? Normally it would have been a car, or a smaller car basically, but a bus came to pick us up, and I'm like, okay, not bad. And then that was my first culture shock. So getting to the airport and there's nobody to welcome you or to pick you up, no family or friends to welcome you, that was a bit different from what I was used to. Do you want to guess what my second culture shock was? So we got to the house, and of course looked around. I'm like, oh, I'd like to drink some water, and James is like, get water from the tap. I'm like, sorry, what? Wait, what? It was so funny because I kind of tried to resist it. I'm like, how do I drink water from the tap? I haven't ever, I don't remember literally going to the tap to take water and drink. And he was like, oh, that's what we do here. The water is clean, the water is this. He tried to sell it to me as much as he could, but I really tried to resist the idea. But guess who's drinking water from the tap now? Me. So yeah, if you're coming to Australia, just know that you're going to be drinking water. All that table water and pure water is out of the way, except if you're stranded. It's not likely to happen because even at the parks, you have a water, I'm not sure what it's called, but there's water in the park where you can fill your bottle from, on the road where you can fill your bottle from. So yeah, it's not likely to happen. So get ready to start drinking water from the tap if you come to Australia. The third one was definitely the charging point. So because James had lived here earlier before I got in, he had the normal sockets and extensions that were required, but I had my Nigerian charging points for my laptop and my phones. And yeah, if you're someone who didn't know about it, it would have been a struggle for you. So but he had something I could use, so that was fine. But if you're coming to Australia, bear in mind that you're going to have a different charging point from your laptop and your phone chargers and all. I'm going to put a picture here just so that you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, bear in mind that the charging points are very different. And then the fourth one, I think that we went to do some shopping the next day, and of course I saw him carrying plastic bags, nylon bags like we call it back home, and I just kept quiet. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And then we got to the shop and we finished buying stuff, and obviously if you're going to shop, you need to take your own plastic bags. If not, you have to pay for whatever plastic bag you ask for. It's not free. So if you're coming into Australia, just know that you're going to be paying for your plastic bags if you don't bring anyone from the house. I think it's just a good idea to keep up with sustainability in the environment. So that was something I had to get used to, having to take my own plastic bag when I'm going to buy some things at the shop. Guys, the fifth one was crazy. I felt like I was always having an argument with James because of this, and that has to be walking. You know how you come out of your house and there's a bike or there's a keke or there's a taxi you can just wave down? Here you have to literally walk everywhere. So I thought it was something James was doing to just get back at me, because I'm like, why do we have to walk? You have a car, why are we not driving the car? in the evenings for evening service, he'll be like, oh, let's take a walk. I'm like, going to the shops, we're taking a walk. Anywhere we're going, we're taking a walk. I'm like, I'm tired of walking. It got to a point where if he says, oh, let's go somewhere, and I'm like, are we walking or driving? If he says walking, I'm like, I'm not going. If he says driving, I'm like, okay. And then sometimes we even have to negotiate how long it's going to take to walk, or if we'll take it, like if we'll use the bus to one part and then walk the remaining. It was so hard for me to understand why I had to walk everywhere. Besides walking, it's like a fitness thing here. Like Australians are always exercising. There's always one walk or the other. There's like a park run, street run, bridge run. There's one run or walk or the other. So it's just the culture here. Walking, fitness culture, exercising. It's just something that's inbuilt in Australia. I even remember when I was doing my placement, I couldn't even find like buses to take me to the points where, like, to take me to the closest points where my like primary assignment was. It was crazy. Like the buses would come at a particular time and then you'd never see them again. So if you miss that time, you'd have to walk. And then I tried to get taxis sometimes and then they will waste my time, and I'm like, oh, I can't keep waiting for an Uber. And then I have to start walking. It was crazy. But yeah, that's something I had to struggle with, walking. Like it's crazy. I'm still not very good are working now, but yeah, just get ready. You're going to be walking everywhere. That's not scary. I mean, think about it on the good side. You'll be losing weight, like you'll be fit. But yeah, that's something I had to struggle with. Why am I walking everywhere? Like I used to be able to just call my taxi guy. I'm like, come by so time, and he'll be at my door, and then I'm coming here and you're telling me to work. It was just crazy. I couldn't understand it. Like it was crazy. So one other thing I had to get used to was that we didn't have immediate access to like repairers, like wristwatch repairers, shoemakers, tailors, obioma, like we used to call them back home in Nigeria. It was just something I wasn't used to. I remember one time I went for a walk, or I was returning from church, and my sandals caught. And I looked left and right, and all I could see were like cars and people walking by. Like I had to, just manage my sandals until I got home, just because you don't have them as easily as you would have them back home in Nigeria. So back home in Nigeria, how I would have like tailors passing obioma, passing by your house and all that. That's not so easily accessible here. So you probably have to go to a mall, or have to check up online and see who's doing that kind of service at home, or the ones that can come to your house. So yeah, I had to get used to that. And I always make sure my shoes were in good condition before I head out of the house, because I don't want any surprises. One more thing I had to get used to was the winter, like the weather conditions here. So I've only just realized how hot it can be in summer. Last year it wasn't this bad, but this year summer has been crazy. Like it's been very hot. I don't even know how I managed last year, but like this year has just been very unbearable. And the same for winter. Like it gets really cold. I think we've gotten like -7 during winter, and it gets really cold. And obviously Nigeria isn't as cold as that, so I've had to learn how to layer up and use the warmer, use the heater, wear socks, and double dressing and all. So the next thing that was very surprising to me was definitely how, if an Australian says to you, how you going, you can't say fine. You have to explain very well. Like I had to learn how to lengthen my conversations. I mean, I've always thought I'm a very good conversationalist, but if I'm just meeting you for the first time and you say, how are you? I'll be like, oh, I'm fine, thank you, and how are you? Not, oh, I'm fine, I went to this place and then I got back from here, and then my mom did this, and then my dad is this, and I'm like, oh, it's crazy. I never understood why you would ask me how are you, and then you expect me to give you a breakdown of everything I have done for that day. When you're in Australia, just get ready to do that. If you even ask an Australian, like that brings me to the next point. If you ask an Australian, oh, how are you going, or like what are you doing, or how are you doing today, just get ready for all the gist you'll be getting, because they'll tell you everything from right when they woke up, how they went for a walk, how they had coffee, how they took the dog to the vet, or to the, okay, well, I'm coming to that one, or how they took the dog for a walk, or how you will hear everything that has happened to them. And that's something I had to get used to, because like back home in Nigeria, like everyone's on the go. If it's not like your long-time friend or something, like why am I telling you something about me? Why am I telling you, oh, I went to the hospital? Australians are big time sharers. Like they don't mind telling you about their personal life, their marriages, their health issues, health conditions. Like they'll give you a lowdown of everything. I found that very different. But if you think about it, I think that they're just very open-minded people and very friendly. So if you're coming to Australia, get ready to be a sharer. Well, you don't have to share so much. I feel like you can always still determine who you tell everything you want to tell. But yeah, get ready to have extensive conversations. Not, oh, how you going? I'm fine. No, it can't be I'm fine. You have to say at least think of something else. Maybe talk about the weather or talk about like something interesting you've done. But yeah, when you get a question like how are you going, you don't just say fine, you add something else to it. Guys, so apart from Australians being very friendly people and huge sharers, they want to tell you everything that has happened to them in a day, they're also quite inquisitive. So I met a couple of people, friendly Australians, who would ask me very personal questions which I wasn't very comfortable, and of course I've always answered as diplomatic as I can. But yeah, I just thought at that first time it was quite strange for me, because back home people who you've just met will not ask you very personal questions. Well, I've always thought you should have like a talking stage and a very friendly stage. But yeah, I met people who have become my very good friends now, who used to ask me very personal questions, and even though I would answer, I would be a bit hesitant or uncomfortable. So yeah, bear that in mind. They are friendly, huge sharers, and of course they will ask you questions as well, and just with the intention to get to know you better, nothing serious. But back home in Nigeria, you know that it's different. If anybody's asking you like very personal questions, you're like, okay, why are you asking me? But Australians are huge sharers. They will tell you when they're going to travel, their departure dates, their arrival dates. If you're Nigerian, you know that never happens, right? Anyway, so the next one on my list would be Sunday service. So I remember the very first Sunday service I attended. So I wasn't sure how to dress, because back home in Nigeria, you know how we dress. Like Sundays are like the days where you bring out your really beautiful dresses, attire. The women are tying like their big scarf and tying wrapper. All the really nice outfits you have come out. So I wasn't sure what to expect like in an Australian church. So I had worn a very simple dress, and I remember asking James, like, oh, should I wear a shoe? Should I wear a sandal? She was like, oh, wear anything you want. And then I just thought about it, like, let me just wear sandals. Like, I don't need to wear heels. But if it was in Nigeria, I won't be asking that question. I'd have probably just gone for my heels immediately. But I wore sandals that day, and then we got to church. It was a Presbyterian church. First off, the look was very different. So you know how back up in Nigeria you have like the chorister section, the pulpit is as big with the big chairs. There's how a proper like Redeemed Church, or all those churches in Nigeria, like the 21st century churches, how they look, right? Yeah, so this was very different. It was a Presbyterian church, and it had that very vintage look. So like the organs, and I'll put a picture here if I have one. I think I have one. I'll put a picture here so you can see. But it was so different. And then the dressing was the most casual dressing I had ever seen, and it was just so beautiful. I mean, back home in Nigeria, it felt like, oh, you had to be in your best outfits to go to church, you had to bring out your most iron clothes to go to church. But here you don't even get that feeling. It's so calming, so beautiful, so laid back. People were wearing shorts and spaghetti tops, like we like to call it, like very casual and laid back. So it was very different, and I loved it. Even though it was different for me, it was just something I really appreciated. Like, that you're going to church to just serve God, sing, and not think about, oh, I need to wear this. And yeah, it was just really nice. It was different, but it was very nice, and something that was very welcome, because you don't want to wake up on Sunday morning and spending so much time trying to get ready for church. There's also something I thought that was different. It would be like the way of worship. So back home in Nigeria, I never attended like a Presbyterian church, but here it was a Presbyterian church, and I noticed that, oh, they hardly would clap their hands. We didn't have like testimony time. We didn't have like praise and worship. We didn't have like a prayer session. Okay, well, there was a prayer session, but it was really short. So yeah, the way of worship was just different from what I was used to back home. I still attend the church and I like it, but yeah, it was just something very different that I had to get used to. Guys, I feel like this video is getting really long, so I'll definitely be breaking it into 2 parts. So yeah, thank you so much for watching until now. For the next part of the video, please do me well to subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and if you're subscribed, make sure your notification bell is on, just so that you know when the second part of the video goes up. I'm very excited to gist you guys. I feel like I haven't done a gist in time or gist to me video before, so this just feels like gisting my friends about how Australia has been so far. I've answered a lot of personal questions on Instagram, like in my DMs and stuff, but yeah, I'm putting it out there for anyone who's interested, who wants to come to Australia, or who's just very keen to know about what life in Australia is, or just wants to know the differences between living in Australia and living in Nigeria. I feel like I've said so much that would be helpful at the moment. There's still so much I can share in the next video, so yeah, definitely watch out for the part 2. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe, and share. Guys, share with your friends. If you know anybody who's planning to move to Australia really soon, I'll appreciate if you let them know about this channel as well, just because I plan to you know, share so much more about Australia, living in Australia, and you know, how just things to make life easy for you when you get in. I always like to say that it wasn't so hard for me, just because my husband was living here before I arrived, so he had a lot of these things already set up. So if for a new person, it will be quite hard. So yeah, that's why I'm sharing all these things. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. Leave me a comment. I really love to respond to your comments, and we'll see you in the part 2 of this video.
Give it to me like